Hello again, my dudes. This is Kadima back with another Elden Ring DLC Shadow of the Earth Tree build video. This time we're going to be using the Black Steel Twinblade, a new weapon from the DLC area, and we are going to be using it with quality infusion with the Ash of War Sacred Blade. The Sacred Blade is important for this build for two reasons. The weapon itself comes with Holy by default. When you change it to quality, it will get less holy damage, but it will increase the physical side of the damage. But because it keeps that little sprinkle of holiness still in there, when we use the Sacred Blade, not only we cast forward the ranged attack by getting that beam of holy damage forward, it also coats the Twin Blade with holy damage, which is useful for this build because we are using the Sacred Scorpion Charm, which raises holy attack, so this will increase our attack slightly, which is quite useful on the long run. I'm also using the golden grease on the side simply because this hides away the fact that I have the Sacred Blade when I'm in the arena, and this is quite useful because sometimes you want to use the Sacred Blade to finish a round, and if you haven't revealed it so far that that's what you got going on in the weapon, you might get lucky and finish your enemies that way. On the left hand, I'm using the Frenzied Flame Seal simply because I want to cast Flame Grant Me Strength. It's going to be the only enchantment that really matters here, the only incantation that it really matters for this build. I've got the cast Flame as well, simply because if I got an opponent that is spinning around me, rolling too fast, this is actually a nice way for a roll catch. I don't use it often, but it's there and it's available. For the armor, I'm using the Rakshasa's helm, the leader's armor, the Rakshasa gauntlets, and Rakshasa greaves. These three pieces of the Rakshasa set will boost our damage by 6%, but it will also increase the damage that you take. Leader's armor, it's important for this build because, as you can read in the description, it slightly strengthens attack following a dodge roll, backstep, as well as dash attacks. And with this weapon, I gotta say that the running R2, it's actually a very good attack. If all hits connect, this thing does about 1500 damage, which is quite good, especially in PvP, because it will lead our opponents to be very close to lose the duel. For Talismans, Shard of Alexander, because it will boost the Sacred Blade beam. Two-handed Sword Talisman, because you will be two-handing the Twin Blades the whole time. As I said before, Sacred Scorpion Charm, because it raises only attack. This is not only useful for the Ash of War, for the increasing the damage of the holy grease that you get, and also because we are using Sacred Order pots as another way of having a form of ranged attacks. And last but not least, Rotten Winged Sword Insignia, because this greatly raises attack power with successive attacks, and you can actually see this proc the moment you hit something. The first 2 to 3 hits do a certain amount of damage, but as soon as the 4th hit lands, it does a massive amount more damage. And this can be seen with the charged running R2, because this actually has 4 hits. If the full attack animation hits 4 times with a simple running attack. So when you do this, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. That last poke, it's a 4th hit. So that means that that hit itself, it's going to be boosted. Also, it's not a true combo because it's not going to connect all the time. But one thing that also works is when you do a running R2 followed by an R1, most times it connects, but it can be dodged. It's just a useful way to finish the opponents, and it does work quite frequently in the arena. Another thing I recommend you have is Exalted Flesh, because this boosts the damage on the physical side of the weapon. As I said before, Golden Grease, the Sacred Order ports to have a form of ranged items to cause damage, and in the Flask of Wondrous Physique, I recommend having the Thorny Crack tier, which temporarily boosts successive attack power, and temporarily boosts holy attacks with the Holy Shrouded Crack tier. This is pretty much the build. The weapon itself has got a nice move set. It's a twin blade. It's quite good, and it gives us that Sith Lord look. I wish the leader's armor could be changed into into the black collar, because then it would definitely give us the Sith Lord look. Enough said. Before I give you the examples of the PvE and PvP as I usually do. I just want to demonstrate how high you can actually get the damage with this thing going. As you can see, the attack power when I two-hand the weapon by default is 715, but when you are fully buffed by using the flame grant me strength, you also consume the exalted flesh. You use the grease on the weapon, and then when you consume the flask all together, and when you two-hand the weapon, it gives us a respectable 1029 attack power. So every time this thing hits, you will get even more attack power, not only because of the physique having the Thorny Cracked Tear, but also because of the Rotten Wing and Sword Insignia. So every time this hits after the third hit, it's gonna cause a tremendous amount of damage. So I would recommend simply start with the running R2 and then just spam the R1s, because these are nice quick hits and they will be doing tremendous amounts of damage, as you are about to see for yourselves. Before I go to the PvE examples and the PvP fights in the arena, thank you all so much for the support you've been giving me with the Elden Ring build videos. For the new guys visiting the channel, I do ask that you subscribe and help us grow even further. And for my regular visitors, thank you for the continuous support. But enough talking, let's go for the example. Now let's start with the usual first victim, the Black Knight. We buff ourselves with Flame Grant Me Strength, do the Exalted Flesh, buff the weapon with the grease, get the Mimic ready, he's right behind me, consume the Flask, and we are ready to roll. Keep in mind that I don't really care about the damage I take in this case. I just want to dish out as much damage as possible. I'm actually going for some R2s, trying to break his guard. Didn't go so well, I got hit a couple of times, especially with that miserable tongue of his. But in any case, the Mimic is helping me out, and we just finished the job together, cornering him behind the staircase. Now for the next one, which is the Blood Fiend Chief, this time I actually decided to eliminate all the enemies before the fog, because those guys just continually aggravate the Mimic. So I was free to buff before coming in, just summon the Mimic. I actually got hit here, which kind of interrupted my vibe. The Mimic is already there on the action, and as you can see, he's causing some damage already. And now I come in for the action, and then we just melt the Blood Fiend HP completely. And that's it. Now for the PvP examples. Got quite a few fights here. You will see that some of the duels I was not using the Flame Grant Me Strength. I was still in the testing phase of the build, but this was the last duels. The ones at the end of the video were the primary tests, but I still decided to get the footage going, just to show that even without the Flame Grant Me Strength, this build does a good amount of damage. The Flame Grant Me Strength just tops it up to a whole new level. As you can see, the combos are quite neat. We got the buff from the Talismans, so we gotta go and finish the job with that poking. Just the last poke did 400 damage. For a weapon that hits this fast, that one hit doing 400 damage is quite good. This guy's got some heavy armor going, he's casting his spells. Time to avoid some of them. Keep our distance. I actually misdirected that completely. I was too turned to the side, so my holy cast didn't even go towards the enemy. No problem. He's got the upper hand, but I've got my blade. Did you see that single running R2 did 1000 damage, and then I managed to simply spam R1 for the win, really. He was dodge rolling 2 next to me. I would eventually catch him, and I did. Now, this guy, he was actually a very good duo. This was our second duo. The first one is further down in the video. He was playing more carefully here, which made the duel way more interesting. I guess he was aware at this stage that the weapon does good damage, and he had to be a little bit more careful. But again, he's outspacing me, he's maneuvering around me quite well. I'm still getting used to the poise. Where can I go, where can I not go? Because this weapon doesn't really do a lot of poise damage. That's the one thing you gotta keep in mind when using this build. And also, because of the armor set and the talismans we're using, we take quite a lot of damage. But as you saw, that running R2 to R1 did 1800 damage. That's a lot of damage for 2 hits. It's just crazy. But here we are trying to finish the fight. I realized, okay, gotta try to do with a bomb. Didn't hit, but then the Sacred Blade hit and finished the job. Good fight, brother. Now this guy, well, he decided to throw the hammer at me while I was buffing. As I said in previous videos, I have no problems. Everyone is free to do that. I still continue to buff because I want to make sure that when I do my damage, it's going to be as high as possible. That simple R1 did only 192 damage, which is not a lot. I know that weapon quite well. I used it in a build video before. He's giving me way too much space, so I continue to buff my weapon until I'm ready. And now it's my turn to play. I actually missed completely, but now that one 800 damage, and only from the 4 hits of the running attack, only 2 connected, and it did 800 damage. But then when the 4 connect, it finishes the job straight away. Now another good fight, but this guy actually allowed me to buff. I always allow my opponents to buff, but he's using a great sword, which is a bit of a double-edged knife here. You have to play with intelligence. Do I go full offensive or not? But as you saw, that running R2 to R1 did 1400 damage, even though he blocked the R1s. But again, I think he was caught by surprise with how much damage this thing does, and he wasn't really managing to hit me in return. Now, as I said earlier, this was the first duel with Mathor. I don't think he was expecting the weapon to do this much damage, because he just got caught by surprise. It looked like it. He's playing very aggressively. That one hit did 800 damage, which is quite good, and then this another one did 886, and then I finished the job with trying to fish him to the attack. He managed to roll that one, but then he was too close, and I finished with the Holy Pot. Very good fight, brother. Now this guy, it's going to be a little bit of a longer fight than I actually expected, because he was just poking me with a crown cheek, and I'm still got no problems admitting that I struggle with that one. 1200 damage from a running R2, guys. That's the power of this build. That's why I like it. It's because a single running R2, if all 4 hits connect, it's at least 1000 damage guaranteed. Which is quite good in the arena, especially considering this is a fast hitting weapon. Of course, without the buffs it doesn't do that much damage, but it's still a respectable amount of damage. Now he's just dancing around, but then I managed to find an opening and finish him off. This was the quickest fight I had using this build, and the reason why, this guy is using pretty much the lightest armor possible. So the moment I actually managed to attack, I immediately killed him with a single running R2. There you go, GG. A single running R2. 1500 damage. Again, another good fight. This guy was using the martial arts, which was a funny one because they hit quite quickly. They are fast hitting weapons, and so is the Twinblade, which made quite a good fight in my opinion. A bit of a long one, which sometimes are the best ones. It's always nice to finish your opponents there and then quickly, but I also like the good long fights because they just make it interesting. We are trying to outspace each other and get the running attacks going, because he's using the 1000 damage. That was beautiful. I bet that caught him by surprise. He's trying to get those running kicks to work, but I'm managing to dodge all of them. The fists unfortunately have no range. That's one of the things that puts me off using that weapon more often. But here we are. He's still trying to find a way in. He hasn't caused any damage yet. My Sacred Blade missed completely. I'm trying to trap him into rolling towards me. It's not working, but then he finally does, and I jump attack to finish the fight. Good duel. Again, this is going to be a short and sweet one. Thankfully the guy gave me enough room to fully buff. As you can see at this stage, I wasn't using the flame grant me strength. If I was, I would do even more damage, but this gives you an idea of how powerful the build is. Now he's using the rivers of blood. I dig in, I miss, try to roll catch, I also missed. I do the trade, and then that little hit there just finished the job pretty much. Now next fight, another good one. This guy was using an unconventional weapon. I don't see that weapon often, which is fine. It makes it interesting to be able to test all weapons against all kinds of other weapons. But it's got better range than mine, so trading running attacks is not going to be in my best interest. And he's using poison, so I gotta be careful with that. I managed to do that running R2, which did 1000 damage, and then I'm just poking and trying to get the spam of the R1 to hit, and then I finish the job with the trade. GG. Now, this guy attacked me straight away just after I consumed some exalted flesh. Again, as I said many times, there's no rules here. Everything is about, even the etiquette between in the arena, it's an unspoken agreement between PvP players. You don't have to do it. I'm not expecting you to do it. If you want to attack straight away, that's fine. But then it's going to be a free-for-all. He's using a shield, which is quite new for this build. This was the only guy I fought using a shield. I could tell he was trying really hard to connect these charged attacks, and that was the reason that got him killed. Now for the next fight, quite an interesting one. He did allow me to buff, so I respect that. Thank you, sir. The fight itself, this guy was outspacing me quite well, I would say. Probably the one that did the best. He's using the Milady with a shield. That thing hits really fast. I had a feeling he would try to parry me, and that's why I did that extra circling around him to avoid the parry. Again, try the Sacred Blade. It missed. He managed to land an R1. He actually managed to land another attack. I realized best thing to do is try to trigger a trade with the running attacks, because I will get the upper hand. I was not expecting that madness. He caught me off guard. He's got his shield back up, so I had the same suspicion he's going to try to parry me. If he does, I'll try to backstab him. Here we go. He tried to parry, but I had already rolled back. Nice back jump. You don't often see that. Here I am trying to keep the pressure, and then I go for the trade. He nearly died, but he still got one hit left, and this is when I managed to trick him with the charged R2 for the win. Again, this fight is going to be a good one. I fought this guy in an earlier example, as you saw him before. I always respect my opponent. I always give them time to buff as well. But here we are. You saw that leg spike there. That kind of makes me nervous all the time. Every time I see a leg spike, I always think, okay, this is going to be a funny one. It wasn't the case. As you saw, that trade was actually quite worthy for me. I did 770 damage, but this one, it hit him right in the face, and he nearly got me the win. He still has a little bit of HP left. Not only he's using heavy armor, but he also has a lot of HP, as you could tell. But I managed to get the win. Now this guy, I was expecting him to have like a bit more resistance, and I thought the poise would save him from my combos. But I think he was playing a little bit reckless. Maybe he was overestimating his armor and his defenses and underestimating the damage of the twin blades, because he's got heavy armor with the highest defenses you can get. But here I go, try to get the trade. I realized, okay, this is the time. I can't let him recover the stamina completely. He's coming with the running attacks. I go in just at the right time, and I managed to get the running R2 to combine with the R1 for 1600 damage. Now, another good duel. I fought this guy before. I think he was caught off guard. He does a lot of running R1s, which kind of makes it predictable. But the moment he did this, I knew this is the time for me to dig in, and then I'm going to do it a second time, just with the sacred flame to the sacred blade to the face, and then This is when I dig in, trapping him into running towards me and finishing the job. Now this is going to be the last duel, guys. Another good one. Respectfully, he allowed me to buff, which is good. And I'll let you watch this one without any commentary. For those who are new to the channel, I remind you, please subscribe, help the channel grow. We are all tarnished here, and I do appreciate all the support I can get. For my usual visitors, thank you so much for the continuous support. It truly means a lot to me, and I thank you all for watching my content. I hope I see you in the next one, guys, and I hope you enjoyed this one. Leave a comment or a like. Cheerio!